Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news out of Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, where a number of people have been already talking about the construction going on in the former area of the Oceania Stadium. And we know from Media Day that a new show was planned called Fire and Ice. That's going to be like a band show. And obviously that new show is going in this new location. And I think the idea here is that it's a show with a 12-piece band that you can hear in both in the park and lay out on the beach and still be able to enjoy the show as well. Obviously, It's going to be gated. Obviously, there's already fencing up around it. But I think it's going to be a dual-purpose stage that you can stay on the beach, stay in the park, and enjoy it from both locations. Now, Danny, I don't really care about this show, as you may have surmised. We're not
here to talk about the show.
Yeah,
if you haven't figured that out yet.
I talked about the show. It's a 12-piece band. That's all you need to know.
Fabulous.
Here's what people are saying, though. People are like, oh, well, this, eliminates the GCI on the beach concept.
Quite the contrary.
Because, Danny, we've seen photos floating around different websites, different locations. And if you look at any of these photos, two things strike me. One, everything that is being built looks so temporary, as you said it, if it was any more temporary, it would already be brought down.
Yeah, that's right.
And two, there is concrete being poured all over the place. But they're not just concreting the whole area, which is strange to me.
No, it's strategically being placed in some sort of pattern.
There's a pattern of the concrete here that's being poured. To me, if this was going to be a permanent stage, you'd probably concrete the whole thing, build a real stage, and do something that would be a lot more impressive than what is currently being done. To me, this show looks like a hold me over, and to use this space for something else until we get the real thing down the road.
Which may be your boardwalk on the beach wood coaster that we've been talking about. We've been talking about, wood coaster in several different locations now. So I think everything you said is pretty spot on. I mean, there is lots of opportunity here to possibly see something bigger come at some point down the road, whether it's for 2019, 2020, we don't know. But I would be very surprised if this is going to be a long-term show in this location anyways.
Also interesting to note here that at Coastermania there was a Q&A. And the Q&A was actually pretty insightful into a lot of different things. One of them is the anniversary for Cedar Point. And someone posed the question that other parks like Kings Dominion have done a 2-year anniversary where they celebrate the 150th season or whatever season it is, and then they would celebrate the 150th anniversary. And Jason McClure was very spot on, and he said, we are not celebrating for 2 years. This is going to be a 1-year anniversary.
Really? See, that's different from what we've heard in the past.
Yes.
We originally heard from Tony Clark, a year or two ago that it would indeed be a 2-year celebration. So you're saying that has changed now?
No 2-year celebration, that it will only be a 1-year fiasco, and it will be a fiasco, I guarantee you. Wow. And they are going to put all their eggs into one basket and celebrate the 150th anniversary, which would be the 2020 season, correct?
Did he say, 1870, right? So is 2020 going to be the year that they do that celebration then, I'm guessing?
I believe so, that 2020 is the year that it sounds like. Now, he didn't specify that, but I thought that was very insightful as well.
So, but does that really change anything from what we've talked about in the 5-year plans? Because we always said, wouldn't it be cool if they did a wood coaster in 2019 or whatever, for the 150th season, and then they did the big record breaker, first of its kind, something or other for the 150th anniversary the next year, so that it was like, a nod to the previous era and now welcome to the new era of Cedar Point. I guess there's nothing really if they're going to put all their eggs in one basket and do a big 1 year celebration. Is there any reason they couldn't do both in the same year? I mean, it's a lot of money, but I mean, there's been nothing, at least in our lifetimes, as big as this type of anniversary for a Park Lake Cedar Point.
Now, Danny, you know, I'm not one to talk about markings on the ground either, correct? I'm not one to discuss such things. But
no, there's a couple in my front yard right now, so.
But I feel compelled to say something that I don't know if it's true or not. I didn't get to go back there. But people have told me that there are now markings next to the area that Magnum previously, that it's right next to Magnum where Sandcastle Suites previously sat. We know that half of that land was used for new campsites. Mm-hmm. The other half currently sits unencumbered with nothing. There's just nothing there. And having been on the Coaster Mania boat tour, it is a significant piece of land back there. And people have said that there are now markings back there. I'm not one to jump on the marking bandwagon, but that was my theory on the last Cedar Point show, was that we'd see something start at the Antique Cars in Frontier Town and shoot out over to that area next to Magnum. And I still think that that's a possibility. I really do.
And maybe it is, and maybe the whole, you know, this show going over by the old stadium on the beach there is just the beginning and, you know, sort of just the tip of the iceberg here to some bigger and better and greater plans.
And to quote Tony Clark, when presented in his blog, if you remember after Steel Vengeance, Tony Clark made an interesting statement in his blog that we didn't really jump on. Let me go find it real quick. This is man, I take a lot of pictures. Sorry.
No, this is compelling YouTube right here.
This is compelling right here. So in his blog, he said he was talking about the guy from Europe coming over to ride Steel Vengeance in a day's time. So that was the crux of the blog. And I guess the guy Paul said he's already waiting for what's the next big thing. And so are a few of you, and I've already been asked, how do you top this, meaning Steel Vengeance? And Tony Clark responds, don't you worry. So how do you top the best roller coaster in the world? Well, Tony Clark is already telling us that the plans are in the books.
You build two.
Build two roller coasters in 1 year. Started up 20 in 2020. We're right there, baby. That's all we need.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a possibility, right? I mean, we always talked about where are we going to find 2 years? And, you know, I think a few months ago we said if you're going to get to 20 in 2020, you needed to build one next year and you needed to build another one 2020. But if you build two in 1 year, we always did say that there was the off chance that they did 2 in 1 year, and then that would be the anniversary celebration year. So we said, well, if they take a year off in 2020, 1870, so then 2020 would be the in terms of the calendar, the 150th anniversary. So that would be the year to go big or go home.
And I feel that we are well on our way there. I really do. I really
we've not, no pun intended, we've set the foundation to get there, Andy.
And once again, they are prepping sites in plain view. I don't know. I just things. If things are obvious to me, I don't understand why other people don't see them as obvious. But it seems to me that this is an obvious temporary setup on the beach, that this is not staying around. Now, you can put anything there. You could put a hang time clone over there or something different along the same lines. Like, you could do so much stuff over there, a wood coaster, and it just makes sense to me. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think at some point now, to me personally, I think the wood coaster, if it's going to start in Frontier Town, I think that makes more sense for where the wood coaster would go. And you could put the wood coaster, out where Sandcastle Suites was, and it's still sort of on the beach. Yeah. You could kind of do that. And then I always said the other thing that I think they need after riding Smiler was I think you need to take the inversion record, go to 15. And maybe that's part of the plan is let's go to the wood coaster, it's, again, we're going to do 2 coasters here in 2020. We're going to put in a wood coaster on the beach, kind of back to our roots and where we started and where we came from. And then we're going to put in a big record-breaking most inversions in the world steel coaster as the new era. I think something
Danny,
like that would be fitting as well.
Danny, I'm a huge fan of the idea of them taking the 500 record first. I just feel that it would be...
I think that would be more Cedar Point, maybe.
I just feel that if anyone else takes that record, that there's something wrong with our society. There's... The end times are here. That
I think the time is coming. I think the time has come and gone where people are interested in that, though. I mean, people are building smaller coasters. They're building Eurofighters. They're building.
Well, people are interested because that's what people are being fed. That's what people are being fed. And
no, that's what the parks are interested in. That's what the parks seem to be interested in.
Because it's cheap. It costs money to build big coasters.
Yeah,
a 500-foot coaster is probably going to be north of $25 million.
Yeah, and the only 2 parks that I think we could actually see breaking that record, maybe 3, is Cedar Point, Six Flags Great Adventure, and Six Flags Magic Mountain. I think those are the only 3 parks that realistically I could see breaking any of those records if they really, really wanted to. And it's been very clear the last 5 years that Six Flags does not like to spend a lot of money at any one park because that's just not what they do. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Cedar Point needs to do that and if they don't, they run the risk of someone else doing it. I don't think anyone else will do it, at least at this point. So,
well, the polar coaster thing, that I think that's come and gone.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. If that's going to happen, then maybe it's a done deal anyways. But I mean, they could still build it first. But
so, anyway, it's an exciting time to be a Cedar Point fanboy. It really is. So, as always, thank you for joining us here on COASTER.net Update. We will keep you updated on all the latest news and rumors coming out of all the parks this year. I'm, of course, Andy Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
And Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
See you guys.